Serial infidelity and a brawl with a fellow prince are just the beginning of the allegations against Prince Andrew in an explosive new biography. Will these stories be the end of him? Here's what you need to know. Andrew Lowney's new biography, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, is full of damning details about the Duke, but only one alleged incident involves two royals coming to blows. He claims that at a family gathering in 2013, Prince Harry and Andrew had got into a heated argument, and punches were thrown over something Andrew said behind Harry's back. Harry told him he was a coward not to say it to his face. Harry got the better of Andrew by all accounts, leaving him with a bloody nose before the fight was broken up. A spokesperson for Prince Harry denies that the two dukes put up their dukes in front of the royal family, telling the Daily Mail, "I can confirm Prince Harry and Prince Andrew have never had a physical fight, nor did Prince Andrew ever make the comments he is alleged to have made about the Duchess of Sussex to Prince Harry." But Lowney is sticking to his claim, telling the Daily Beast, "I stand by my source, who has proved reliable and was close to Andrew. They had no reason to make this up and gave me lots of detail." There's another account in Lowney's book of someone almost starting a fight with Prince Andrew. After the Duke allegedly barked at a royal household officer to wrap a gift for him, the servant nearly snapped. He told Lowney, "I just thought, you rude, ignorant sod," and felt like decking him. In all honesty, he wasn't a particularly nice person. One of the most headline-grabbing claims in Lowney's new book is that Andrew had more than a dozen affairs before his first wedding anniversary. Andrew married Sarah Ferguson, aka Fergie, in 1986, and they divorced a decade later. Just weeks into the marriage, Lowney writes, Fergie realized she had made a mistake in marrying Andrew, who once told her, "I am a prince, then a naval officer, then a husband." Andrew's top priority was the Royal Navy, which meant he sometimes spent only a few months of the year with Fergie. One year, it was just 42 days. She would write him letters, but he wouldn't reply. Lowney says she once told a friend, "I was missing him madly and couldn't understand why he couldn't spare the time to let me know what he was up to. It was so depressing." So what was Andrew up to? According to one of the Duke's former drivers, Andrew had more than a dozen affairs in the first year of marriage. By 1989, a fed-up Fergie had begun having affairs of her own, including one with an American millionaire that landed her on the cover of The Sun, getting her feet kissed. As for what life was like for Andrew and Fergie when they were at home together, Lowney paints a pretty bleak picture. A mutual friend of the couple told Lowney, Andrew's idea of a good time on a beautiful sunny day was to sit in the house and watch golf on the television. His dinner would be placed in front of him so he could continue watching TV, and then he would go to bed. To this day, Andrew and Fergie still live together at Royal Manor.
I just see it as illogical not to be a friend at the end of the day.
But one longtime aide told Rob Shooter, former executive editor of OK Magazine, that with the release of Lowney's book, Andrew has finally become too toxic. They told Shooter, "Fergie is humiliated. She's exhausted and tired of mopping up his mess." A lot of Lowney's sources are merely anonymous insiders of one kind or another, but occasionally more credible figures are willing to speak out about the Duke's behavior. For instance, a Reuters reporter told the historian that Andrew welcomed a steady parade of women into his hotel room in 2006 while visiting Thailand. Andrew was in Bangkok for the King of Thailand's Diamond Jubilee celebrations, representing the British monarchy. The reporter told Lowney that more than 40 women were brought to his hotel room, observing, often, as soon as one left, another would arrive. Hotel staff, Lowney writes, were amazed that Andrew was visited by more than 10 women a day during his stay. A friend of the Duke's told Lowney, traveling all over the world as the UK trade ambassador and for other royal duties has given him access to some beautiful women, and he's taken full advantage. Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein gets a ton of ink dedicated to it in Untitled, including the claim that Epstein called Andrew a perverted animal. But one of the most shocking allegations is that Andrew and Fergie met Epstein much earlier than they've previously claimed. The Duke has said that he met Epstein in the late 90s.
Well, I met through his girlfriend back in 1999.
But Lowney writes, the truth is he and his ex-wife Sarah had known the financier for almost a decade by then. Lowney writes that Andrew and Epstein used each other, but there was a power imbalance, and it wasn't in the royals' favor. One friend described the pairing to the historian as like putting a rattlesnake in an aquarium with a mouse. Lowney writes, Epstein played Andrew. The prince was a useful idiot who gave him respectability, access to political leaders, and business opportunities. He found him easy to exploit. Another Epstein-related bombshell in the book is Andrew's alleged romance with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's closest associate, who's currently behind bars. Lowney writes, Andrew and Ghislaine were good friends and over the years had been occasional lovers, and through her, the prince had come into the ambit of her boyfriend Jeffrey Epstein. Lowney claims that the two weren't exactly secretive about their alleged fling either, writing, "In 2000, he resumed his on-off affair with Ghislaine. In May, they were spotted holding hands at a restaurant in Manhattan." Lowney later writes that Ghislaine helped the rudderless Duke reinvent himself in 2001 when he left the Royal Navy. One friend is quoted as having said at the time, "He's spiraling out of control. He's even started dressing like a 25-year-old in jeans and a blazer." Andrew's alleged slugfest with Prince Harry wasn't the end of their feud, according to Lowney. The historian writes that in 2018, Andrew called his nephew bonkers for marrying Meghan Markle, labeling her an opportunist who was too old for Harry. The Duke of Sussex didn't respond well to these remarks, but there was no fight this time. Instead, Lowney's source says, Harry later told Prince William he hated Andrew. Turns out William's not a fan of Andrew either, Lowney writes. There have been tensions between the two men for years, partly occasioned by Andrew being rude about Kate. One source tells Lowney that William plans to get his revenge one day by evicting his uncle from his home at Royal Lodge, if King Charles doesn't do it first. Meanwhile, the embattled brothers William and Harry at least agree on their dislike of Andrew, and reportedly have several nicknames for him we can't repeat here. But Andrew is a man of many nicknames. It seems like Andrew racked up nearly as many nicknames over the years as he did extramarital affairs, and it started young. Lowney writes that as an infant, Andrew was known as Baby Grumpling for his moodiness. Even his mother, Queen Elizabeth, found him a handful, once saying, "Andrew's not always a little ray of sunshine about the house." Regardless of his unruliness as a toddler, Andrew was still rumored to be his mother's favorite. Netflix's The Crown even made this the theme of an episode in season 4.
Everyone knows who your favorite is.
Do they?
Yes.
Later, in public school, he earned the nickname Randy Andy from his classmates. The name has stuck and remains a favorite of headline writers on both sides of the pond. When Andrew was appointed Special Trade Envoy to the UK government, Lowney writes that diplomats began calling him His Buffoon Highness for his gaffes and botched deals. Back home, Fergie had earned a similar moniker, Her Royal Excess, after taking 5 holidays in 7 months and indulging in other lavish spending. Not to be outdone, Andrew racked up huge expenses as an envoy, even once requesting a Fabergé egg from his hosts, according to Lowney. That behavior earned him yet another nickname, Air Miles Andy. Prince Andrew's love of pranks may seem tame compared to some of the more salacious claims in Lowney's book, but the Duke's no ordinary court jester. His brand of prankishness is said to be shockingly juvenile and always humiliating for the subject of his japes. Lowney writes that one of his go-to party tricks is to fool someone into closing their eyes, then placing an open bottle of mustard between their hands and asking them to clap. The historian notes, the spectacle of someone receiving a face full of mustard gives him great joy. And that's not the only food-based prank Andrew allegedly likes to indulge in. Lowney claims that once at a dinner party when Andrew was served a pâté, he turned to his female companion and said, "This pâté smells. What do you think?" The punchline, such as it is, was Andrew shoving her face into the dish. Andrew's other pranks range from the borderline criminal, fully unzipping a broadcaster's dress at a society event, to the bizarre, like the time he reportedly walked into a room at a party where people were watching TV, changed the channel, then left without comment. If his pranks aren't off-putting enough, Lowney writes that his dinner table conversation often left his guests aghast, with one date even calling his jokes pathetic. One friend of the Duke told the historian, "He's a nightmare to sit next to at dinner. He makes ghastly jokes about whether you're wearing knickers, and you can't tell him to sod off." Lowney even quotes a member of England's upper crust, a titled lady of Andrew's generation, as saying he's even more crude than people realize. The lady told Lowney, "He is easily the most boorish man I have ever met." Lowney's new biography of the Duke of York has been called a character assassination, but it also includes the stunning revelation that Prince Andrew was allegedly the target of at least 2 assassination plots. Lowney writes, "There have been several assassination threats against Andrew, including one by the IRA to get him on a golf course. The other group after Andrew, the Argentinian junta, the country's military dictatorship, which Lowney claims were after Andrew for his participation as a helicopter pilot during the Falklands War in 1982.
That's my helicopter flying over at the moment.
Lowney alleges that Andrew went to the Caribbean with his then-lover, actress Koo Stark, after the war, and that the junta had planned to send a submarine filled with soldiers to track the Duke down, but the plan was never implemented. Perhaps the most startling claim in Lowney's 456 pages is how Andrew allegedly spent his preteen years. An unnamed source claims that Andrew's first physical relationship of any kind happened before he reached double digits. Then things swiftly escalated into something more serious. Andrew admitted that he lost his virginity before he turned 12, and when he was 13, the number of partners was half a dozen. I believe this might be the root of Andrew's problems. When asked by The Telegraph why he would include such an unsettling allegation, Lowney told the newspaper, "It seemed to me it was part of building a picture of behavior and how it shaped his life. It does perhaps explain some of the behavior later on. I think he, in some ways, has been a victim. It does make him much more sympathetic in a way."